What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So, comedian Aries has clapped back at defenders of Lizzo who have been brutally insulting him over the past couple of days, saying, quote, y'all don't deal in logic and sense. So, comedian Aries is responding to the people who are bashing him for fat shaming Lizzo. Spears, who recently appeared on a podcast and said Lizzo, quote, looks like this shit emoji, posted a video message to his critics. Quote, a lot of you women are funny with the critiques. I ain't funny. I'm fat, unattractive. No woman wants me. They always try to hurt you with what works for you the most. While he has previously admitted that he is out of shape, Spears is taking offense to people questioning his comedic skills. I'm 32 years in this game and I ain't funny. Y'all don't deal with logic and sense. You deal in emotion and anger. The comedian urged women to, quote, come with something that's not subjective. Me being unfunny, unattractive, that's not a fact. That's subjective. I feel him. I feel him on a lot of shit. You know, but at the end of the day, and I have my issues with Lizzo. I do. I have my issues with Lizzo. But to me, Aries Spears created, he calls all this shit on himself, man. I'm sorry. He brought all this shit on himself because, look, you say that people calling you unfunny and fat is subjective, but saying that Lizzo looks like the shit emoji is not a fact. That's subjective. Saying that her body looks like a pile of mashed potatoes, that's not a fact. That's subjective. So really, man, you brought all this shit on yourself. You know, like, you know the climate we in right now. You know this. So this is my problem with people. Okay? You know the climate we in. If you're a comedian, you got to deal with the bullshit that's going to come now. That's my thing. If you're a comedian, you got to come with the bullshit. You know it's going to be bullshit. This ain't 1991 anymore, or even 2005. You say certain shit, you run risk of getting slapped in the fucking face. You say certain shit, you gonna have social media. If you go after a certain person that people adore, they're gonna go after you. Have a certain segment go after you. Look what happened to Dave Chappelle. And I think that Dave Chappelle is brilliant. And I support Dave Chappelle. But there's a certain risk involved when you say certain shit. There's a price to pay for freedom. Everything ain't easy. There's a price to pay for freedom. And there's a limit to what we can say. It is. People like to hear that shit, but there's a limit. Try screaming it's a fire in a crowded building and there's not a fire. I have free speech. They ain't trying to hear that shit when they locking your ass up for inciting a riot. So there's limits to this shit with free speech. I believe that a comic shouldn't have fear of delving into certain issues. But this is what I'm having a problem with people. Some people are mixing up being a comedian and being able to talk about subject matter that's sensitive versus being a so-called comic just to be mean, spirited, and just to insult people and think people aren't supposed to get mad about it. That's not how the world works. It doesn't work like that. Because if you want to be real about this, and I don't want to say this, but I'm going to have to say this to get my point across. We get mad at certain communities for laughing at everybody else, but thinking they are exempt from shit, right? You know what I'm talking about. But didn't we all, rightfully so in our opinion, go after Sarah Silverman and other people for using racial jokes about black people? They said that they was using these jokes to try to show the silliness, the stupidity of racism. We weren't trying to hear that. We think you a racist bitch. And these people had to change their acts. And this was in the 90s and 2000s. I'm not talking about the 70s and 80s. So let's keep it 100 all the way. It's in us to laugh at other people shit as long as it don't affect us. Period. We all have that shit inclined in us. I'm of the opinion that when a joke is being told and it has some sort of redeeming value, I'm willing to listen to it. If it's a joke that's just being told for the sake of shock value, you know, that type of material is more likely to be looked upon negatively. But anyway, that's how I look at it, at least. You could disagree. Tell me what you guys think.